Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Joseph from ScreenBite, and today we're going to be taking a look at the SteelSeries Rival 600, and this just may be my next top gaming mouse recommendation. But first, let's take a look at that shape. Now, I know I wasn't the first person when I saw this mouse to think, that thing looks way overly designed. There's lots of grooves in places that you wouldn't expect grooves, and you would just think that it would be uncomfortable. To be completely honest with you though, that's not the case. This thing is super comfortable to hold in the hand, and it definitely molds pretty darn well. It's not what I expected at all. Now, material wise, it's actually kind of slippery. It has very soft touch plastic as well as very soft rubber grips on the side, which once you start to sweat a little bit, it does stick pretty darn well, but it is very slippery when you first pick it up for the first time. It actually caught me off guard. Now, the mouse is designed with right-handed users in mind, and the buttons are very spaced out. The one at the front was actually a little hard for me to reach, and I have fairly large hands, but other than that, I have no complaints about the side buttons. On the right-hand side, you're going to have nothing except for a rubber grip, and it does fit my fingers very well. Now, the interesting thing about the sides is that they are in fact removable. Now, I don't know if this means that SteelSeries is planning on releasing different side grips for this, but that would be pretty cool. But when you remove those sides, you can actually put in individual weights if you want to change the balance or increase the weight to your liking. However, that's not really for me. The cable is a smooth rubber and it is pretty flexible, however not as flexible as some of the Razer cables that I've been testing lately. Also, make sure you have it plugged in all the way because I thought my mouse was broken when I first got it. On the bottom of the mouse, you're going to have all that magic, and that's with the TrueMove 3 Plus sensor system that SteelSeries has going on. It's a dual sensor system. One I believe is the Pixart 3360 and the other is a liftoff distance detector, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Now let's go ahead and listen to those clicks. Now, the clicks are pretty decent. Now, they're not the most crisp in the world. I'm just spoiled by the G403, and I don't think any clicks will ever really be better than those, but they're not bad. As for the other buttons, the middle mouse button is probably the best I've ever felt when it comes to a middle mouse button, and the scroll wheel feels really good with nice distinct steps. The side buttons are pretty darn tactile and very clicky, however they are a little too small, at least to my taste. One thing that should be noted is that mouse 1 and 2 do have a little bit of play to them, not nearly as much as it was on the Lancehead, but it is there. Now, from a performance aspect, you get what you expect with a top tier mouse. It's very responsive, and as you can see here, the liftoff distance sensor actually works pretty well. I was actually able to pretty well fine tune where my liftoff distance was, which is something that I wasn't able to do on other mice. Now, the tracking is pretty darn good. You can easily track your targets without any issue, and there's no angle snapping or skipping, which is great. I can easily get to this spot that I want to get to with no problem at all. And it's just overall very, very snappy, the type of performance that you would expect. Another thing that you would expect is with a sensor like this, you cannot get it to spin out. I tried as hard as I could, I was moving my hand as fast as I could, and it just would not lose track, which is fantastic. Now, one thing I will say is that this mouse is a little bit on the larger side. For me, I have 18.5 centimeter hands by 9.5 centimeter hands, so kind of medium to large, and it is almost too big for me. However, I am still able to aim. However, I would say if your hand is under 16.5 centimeters, it might be a good idea to test it out or maybe look at something different. Lastly, a real quick look at the SteelSeries Engine 3 software. This gets a little bit negative points for me. Now, it could just be that I haven't had a whole lot of experience with it, but it did feel a bit clunky. I was able to find the stuff that I wanted, and I was able to mess around with the stuff that I needed to, and eventually I got the lighting right. However, it just was overall confusing. I know that once I use it more, I'll get more used to it, but I did want to go ahead and mention that it is not beginner friendly. However, all the features that you'd come to expect in a mouse in this price point are there. You have the ability to mess with the polling rate, you can record macros if you want to, you can mess with the DPI in steps of 100, change the liftoff distance with extra precision thanks to that dual sensor. A lot of the features are there, it's just like I said, a little clunky. And finally, price and final thoughts. Now, the Rival 600 is an $80 mouse, so it's definitely on the upper end for expensive mice out there. However, I have to say, it is really worth that cost. Contrary to where we reviewed the EC2B, where I said it was a little bit too expensive for what you were getting, for this mouse, you're getting quite a bit. Not, of course, just the RGB lighting and all the fancy features and stuff like that, but it's just a really, really good, well-rounded mouse. The shape is really great, even though its design is crazy. The clicks are pretty darn good, just not as good as the G403, but all the other buttons on the mouse are better, as well as the sensor performance is just top notch. I really love the implementation here. So I would say that if you're in the market for the Rival 600 and you were really on the fence, I would recommend checking it out. I'm going to go ahead and leave an affiliate link in the description for you guys, so if you're interested in, feel free to check that out and purchase it from there because it helps out the channel. Also, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video, guys, so thank you once again for watching. As always, if you liked it, make sure to show it by hitting that like button down below. It really helps me out. As well as if you have any comments or any questions about the mouse, feel free to ask it in the comment section down below. You could also ask me any questions on Twitter at ScreenBite. If you're new to the channel and you like the content, feel free to subscribe. But until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.